Excellent. Welcome, folks. We'll give you a moment to jump in here, see how many of you we have today. I'm feeling like I'm forgetting something. Yeah. We'll see. At some point in the broadcast, I may go, oh, I know what it was. Folks, if you're just joining, currently showing 0 viewers. There we go. 2. On the YouTube channel first even. Wow, rather than Facebook.
First 2.
All right, first in. Who's going to be first in? First comment. I'll send a sticker or something. How about that? I don't think I've ever done that before. First comment gets a sticker. What sticker? Don't know yet. I'll look around the office. I've got a ton. In fact, I probably have stuff in the drawer right here. Let's see. Random sticker. Got all kinds of stuff in the drawer. I don't know. First comment. Holy smokes. It's quiet today. What is going on? I feel like there's something not working right.
Maybe it's because it's off schedule.
That could be. That's true. But normally we still get pretty good viewership. And I've been warning people too for like the last week. Like, by the way, it's going to be Wednesday, not Thursday. Let's see. Sure, that's worthy. That works. M. Vin on YouTube. You're the first comment I saw. And Triss is on YouTube. That's weird. Triss, you're always watching on Facebook. All right. M. Vin, you're going to get a Bergara sticker. Random sticker from some thing that I attended once. I think it's a sticker. Feels like a sticker. There you go, M. Vin. Email me. Podcast@concealedcarry.com. Wow. What is going on? Still only 8 viewers? Everyone missed the memo. Well, we're going to get started regardless. I'm making sure that this notification went out. I'm not so sure that the live video notification went out. That is because I normally get it. That could be part of it. That's weird. All right. Well, we're going to get started regardless. I know eventually people will find it and they'll get in here and we'll see them. So let's do it. So, folks, today we got Brannon LeBoeuf. Is that correct pronunciation?
Brannon LeBoeuf, but yeah,
LeBoeuf. Okay, so I know someone else that's similar, but they pronounce it LeBoeuf. That's a very subtle distinction, isn't it?
It's I'm in South Louisiana, so it's probably a little more dialect than it is anything else.
Excellent. Well, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start the recorded portion of the audio show. All right. Now we actually have a few people popping in. That's great. All right. Now it's looking a little better. See, Casey's here now. Sean, now they're popping in. Sounds like maybe the notification was a little slow going out. So let's do it. This is the Concealed Carry Podcast, episode number 380. And welcome to the Concealed Carry Podcast, part of the concealedcarry.com network. I am your host, Riley Bowman. And I'm really pleased today to have a special guest with me. His name is Brannon LeBoeuf with NOLATAC Firearms Training and all kinds of different things, Brannon. Like you've got I don't know how many different businesses, but you're wearing a shirt right there.
A couple of balls.
Yeah, you got a shirt right there. St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center. That's yours too, right?
Indoor Shooting Center is our indoor shooting range.
Yeah. All kinds of busyness and craziness going on in Brannon's life. We'll get into things more with Brannon here in a moment, let him do a proper introduction, and we'll learn a little bit about him if you're not familiar with Brannon. But first, today's episode, honorary sponsor will be NOLATAC family of companies. And then also our official episode sponsor is Guardian Nation. So I'd encourage you to head on over to guardiannation.com, learn more what Guardian Nation is all about and what it has to offer to you, which... we're going to talk a lot today about education with Brannon and Guardian Nation. Like one of the core components of membership in Guardian Nation is all of the members-only videos and content pieces and all that stuff. A lot of education, a lot of info, that sort of thing, plus access to all the discounts, training opportunities, all of that, all part of Guardian Nation. And I just saw the other day a couple of you brand new Guardian Nation members, and that makes me just so happy. So thanks for being part of the family. if you just need a little bit of a kick in the pants, you're staying on the edge, you're looking over, you're like, Guardian Nation thing looks pretty sweet. Well, take advantage of a 14-day free trial. This is not advertised anywhere except for on the podcast. But if you go to concealedcarry.com/14-day, as in 14DAY, then you can do a 14-day free trial, see if it's for you, and then stick around maybe. Yep, Tris is a new GN member. Thank you, Tris. Man, you're the bomb. So, guys, let's jump into it here with Brannon. Brannon, I've probably known about you longer than you've known about me. I'm a nobody in the industry, but I think when I first learned of you was probably from some Facebook post somewhere at one time. Like, who's this Brannon guy? Like, sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I think,
Either that or you were mad at me, one of the two.
That could be too. I've seen some interactions. People not
get interested.
Yeah, you're out there slaughtering those sacred cows that some people tend to hang on to with regards to shooting guns, firearms training, that sort of stuff. That's the thing. So really, what's brought us together here today, Brannon, is we touched base, we connected, and you mentioned that you've got this new program coming out right now, like you're in like launch phase, which I'm really excited about, which is a professional firearms education program, an opportunity for people to get, as you've described it in one of your videos, a bachelor's degree kind of equivalent of firearms instructor education and training, right?
Yep. And we actually have programs that lead up to a doctoral level program. So.
That's awesome. So we're gonna dive deep on that a little bit. Let Brannon tell us what that's all about. And some of you viewing or listening may even be interested in participating in that. And I'll give you a little tease that you can pay for this education through your GI Bill. And I know we got veterans watching, so there may be some of you like, what's my next phase in life? What do I want to do next? Like, where am I going from here? I've always wanted to be an instructor or this or that or whatever. So stay tuned. We're going to get into that. Brannon will give us all the details. But first, Brannon, tell us, how did you get to be where you are today? What's your background?
Well, what had happened was, I'm from South Louisiana, so I kind of always grew up in that more rural kind of, I wasn't really a big hunter necessarily, but was kind of always around guns, playing in the woods, that kind of thing. From a young age, I always had a kind of a fascination with the military. People in my family had been in it, things like that. So, of course, I guess my dad taught me how to shoot. Probably one of the only real positive things with my dad growing up, to be quite honest. But graduated high school, 6 o'clock on I think a Friday night, and then 6 o'clock the next Saturday morning, I was on a plane headed to boot camp for the Marine Corps in San Diego. Initially went in the reserve, spent 11 years in the Marine Corps, 7 of that active duty. During that entire time, I also was a reserve police officer. Actually started that immediately after I got back from boot camp in '95, and has been doing that ever since. So I've kind of always been around firearms. I like to talk. So that coupled with me having about 4 functional brain cells, I guess made me someone who had a kind of an ability to teach others. And I've just always been down that path. In the Marine Corps, I was on the rifle and pistol team. And one of the kind of collateral duties of that was we taught what the Marine Corps calls primary marksmanship instructors, or PMIs. They're the people that teach firearms either at the units or in boot camp. So we taught that course to units over the summer. So I really enjoyed doing that. And then same thing, I always kind of I'm one of those fortunate people that my hobby and what my interests are is also my job and my profession. So when other guys were taking leave and vacation to go to golfing or Disney or something like that, I was going to firearms classes. So I enjoyed going to classes and training and learning. And all that learning, gave me a certain perspective and allowed me to then kind of do more of teaching and helping others. So I started doing that in pretty much every capacity that I could, law enforcement, military, and then I started my own business, NOLATAC Firearms Training, I think around 2007 formally. I had been doing it before, but I think the LLC was formed in 2007. mainly doing concealed handgun permit classes and things like that, private one-on-one instruction stuff in Louisiana. And then did a stint as a private military contractor around 2010 and 11 timeframe. Came back from that, traveled for about a year and a half, 2 years training. I ran, if anybody's familiar with Travis Haley, with Haley Strategic Partners, I kind of helped him stand that company up, and him and I were traveling, teaching for about a year or so. Then during that time, I had also purchased this indoor shooting range. It was kind of sitting here. It had been a range prior to Hurricane Katrina. I bought it actually 2 weeks before I went to Afghanistan on a contract and leased it so no one else could buy it. And then after about a year or two of getting back, I was like, man, I need to do something with this. So for the next couple of years, we worked on this and just kind of bootstrapped, got it back open up in March of 2014. We've been running this place since then. And then I still do some traveling, instructing and stuff at, like law enforcement conferences and things like that. We also had an outdoor shooting range, NOLATAC training center. Then until May of this last year, they didn't renew our lease, but it was very successful. People liked it. So we actually have quite a bit of investment interest, and we're currently trying to find a new piece of property to rebuild it at. So that's something that's coming back. And then, just staying in that vein of education, then, we had our various programs and stuff come out. So that's kind of basically me in a nutshell. Nothing too extravagant, kind of a little bit of a jack of all trades, some law enforcement, military, private contracting, master's degree in criminal justice, which is completely irrelevant. And just doing a lot of time, on the podium teaching.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And thanks for sharing that with us. So, I mean, you make it sound like it's not that big a deal, but really, I mean, you've done a lot of different things and experienced a lot of things, and I find that to be pretty helpful and also very relevant to as far as what you're doing. And so, first of all, best of luck with getting the outdoor range, and all that figured out. I actually have a viewer on YouTube here, Andrew. He says, "Thanks for having Brannon on. I love his shooting range. I try to go every 2 weeks." So,
thanks, man. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So let's get into this program that you're in the middle of kicking off. Tell us what it is and what it means for people, where they can learn more about it, and also some of the options for being able to pay for it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a separate business, if you will, but we call it NOLATAC Veterans Training Program. And the name would make it sound like it's only for veterans. It's not. It's something that's optimized for veterans. Like I said, I have a master's degree in criminal justice. I utilized both tuition assistance when I was on active duty, as well as some of my GI Bill to get that. And that's, I'm 42 years old, and it was, beat into me that, kind of the only way you get from where you are to where you want to be in life is, you got to have an education. And by all means, education is absolutely important, but not necessarily a formal college degree for everybody. As a guy who has a master's degree, literally not a single thing I've ever done in school has played a pivotal role in any of my, level of success as I define it. Really and truly, what's got me to wherever I am has been those traits that I learned, quite honestly, in the Marine Corps. And that's first and foremost integrity. I've gotten where I'm at, not because I'm an amazing person, but because amazing people see something in me and decide to help me. And I tend to try to judge a person, not necessarily 100% by who they are, but by the type of people that choose to surround them, because that's more indicative. Because we always are going to put our own best image forward. That's just human nature. But when you see the quality of people that surround a person, that tells you something about that person. How many animals drink from a given water hole lets you know a little bit about how good that water is. And that's, kind of how I look at it. But, long story short version, we had a program similar to what we have that was in our area, started by a guy I know that was, relatively successful, and they utilized our facilities to do their program. So I got to see it firsthand. And then at the range, we hire predominantly veterans. So a lot of the people that were in the program, I think like 4 or 5 of them at one point, worked here. In fact, one of them worked here until just most recently. so we got a lot of firsthand intimate knowledge. And while I think the program was great and the guy who was running it had done phenomenal groundwork, there was just, it was lacking in some regards. And there was some legitimate reasons for that and whatnot. But I kind of looked at it, I was like, man, it's a good idea, but it's just not being executed. So there was a point in time where we were looking at possibly purchasing that business. And then it was like, that didn't work out, thankfully. But then I was like, you know what, I can do this. So I built it what I thought it should be, and it was amazing. And then I brought in 4 of my peers from across the country and basically was like, hey, tell me what you think. And then I left the room for a day. And when I came back, they had completely slaughtered everything I did and rebuilt it. And it was 10 times more than I ever could have thought. So we made it a lot more comprehensive. One of the things when you build a program and you are trying to get it approved to accept things like the GI Bill, it has to make the veteran more entrepreneurial, or make them more employable. And the problem is with some of the other programs that were out there, it was basically you showed up, you got a stack of certificates, good luck. Well, that's great and all, but like, number one, this person doesn't know how to start an LLC, how to get a logo, how to run social media, insurance, payroll, like none of that. Like that's literally the first step of starting a business. So one, I wanted there to be a core business school, and the NOLATAC Veterans Training Program is a university. I mean, we are literally a vocational university. And of course, the university has colleges in it. And the first 2 programs we got approved fall in the College of Firearms. And then, there's programs within that. So the main program of the first program is what we call Professional Firearms Educators Program. And that is a 6-month program. The current scheduling is at 6 months, 2 days a week. We're flirting with some other schedules, like a compressed 5-day-a-week program, a summer set. But right now, the first cohort that starts February 4th is a 6-month, 2-day-a-week program that is structured to be like a bachelor's degree. So you start with the 6-week business school. So you don't learn how to build a business. You actually build a business. So at the end of this program, you have a business. You have your LLC, you have your logo, you have your social media, you're already building content for it. All that's part of it. Like the program, it's building a business. While you're doing that, you're also getting many of the certifications you need. One of the things that I think separates us from is I make a very hard line distinction between a certification and a qualification. I've got a 3-ring metal binder right there that has more certifications from stuff that doesn't even exist anymore than most people. One of them in there that I always use as an example is I'm an HK armor. I have a certification that says it. But if you threw an HK in front of me and told me to tear it down to the bare bone, I'm not qualified. I'm certified, but I'm not qualified because it's not something I do. It's not something I have that depth of knowledge in. So we start to build that in with the students in the mindset. And a lot of what drives how we kind of design this is, I've been doing this for a while. I know personally most of the kind of players in this field, both at the national level as well as locally in my kind of little region. And the problem is that we like to think that since law enforcement and military comprise a large section of who is out there providing training, that it's a high integrity thing, and it's not. So one, I just want to elevate the mean level of instructor as just their quality as a human being in one part, and just kind of the ethics and integrity that they run business. So that's all that is in the DNA of everything we do. It's through there. But this takes you through all 13 or so. I think it ends up being, let me pull my notes, but I think it ends up being like 18 different specifically instructor certifications. Excuse me. And then it comes out to like a total of 23 different certifications you get. So all the ones the NRA has, all the instructor disciplines teach, all the NRA programs, United States Concealed Carry Association instructor, the NRA's new CCW instructor. Then you're doing Hunter's Ed instructor, archery instructor. We have a very robust medical portion. So trauma, TCCC trauma, first aid, CPR, AED, bloodborne pathogens. You're going through all the business stuff. You'll be set up, in Louisiana, if you're a Louisiana person, to be a CHP instructor here. So it does all that kind of foundational check in the box. I need these pieces of paper, from a legal perspective. but then it starts to steer towards defensive oriented, because that's the reality, is that people are going to take this program and then want to go teach their local CHP course or their defensive handgun course. So we want to, the internal thing we say with this program is, instead of just making fun of people online, which we're probably still going to do, we're going to actually provide them a path to do it right.
Yeah.
Where we would look at these instructors that are clown shoes and be like, haha, this guy's ridiculous. We're still going to do that. But if they want to, there's actually a path to not be clown shoes now, is what we're trying to provide. So this sets all that foundational stuff, all the business stuff, all of that. And it, I think it's a very robust program. And then of course, as I said, we start to steer towards defensive. So then we'll be doing stuff like it's just going to be a scheduling thing. It'll change depending on the given cohort. But like Tom Gibbons from Range Master is a friend and mentor of mine. So in fact, I just got back from his first master instructor course. So I was one of the first 19 people to go through it, kind of. But we want to get them prepared for that. And then that leads into the second program that will be approved probably the beginning of next year, which is the working title is Professional Firearms Instructor Trainer Program. So that now takes the person from being an instructor to being a person who creates instructors. So that's modeled very heavily after the NRA and the USCCA's Training Council program. That's a 12-month program. And basically what you do is that program split up, because by that point we'll have different time slots of the other one going. But for the next 12 months, those people are teaching the following cohorts of the PFEP program. So they're literally doing it. The thing with instructing is this. Some people are just gifted at speaking. They have good charisma and they can, they can exchange with people. But even those people start somewhere. Okay. One of the biggest fears that most human beings have is crowds and speaking in front of people. The only way to get through that, you can take all the classes you want, read all the books you want, and those are helpful. You just got to do it. It's an acclimation thing. So most instructors, I own a facility. This is what we do. We do 2 CHP classes a month. So, and I don't even teach them. I got a guy that teaches them. So if that guy's, working on himself, that's 2 opportunities a month to present. That's actually pretty high. Most people that are doing this are doing it as a side hustle and not a primary thing. So in a year, he's had 24 opportunities to teach. Whereas this program, by the nature of it, you're going to get about 5 to 10 years of experience presenting in that window. So your comfort level is highly escalated. And then each program just compresses that more and more and more. So a guy that goes through all 3 programs and 36 months of programs has close to 36 years of experience presenting, not necessarily experiential knowledge, but I'm saying practice and actually teach. So the comfort level is there. And that's a big part of how impactful a trainer or instructor can be. That PFAP one's approved. And then we also have a 3-month security guard training academy here in Louisiana, where we're at. To be an armed security guard requires a whopping 24 hours of training. This is a 270-hour academy modeled after a police academy that in many regards, because I've taught at police academy, in many regards teaches a much greater depth. Like the legal, we teach more legal in depth in that security guard academy than most police academies teach about firearms and that stuff. So this is designed for someone who wants to start their own private security business or wants to be, an executive or a high-level supervisor in that. Same current format, two days a week. That one kicks off, I think, mid part of the year. We basically get a cohort done of the first of the PFAP, and then we're going to roll that. So that we're looking to hopefully become, that one has much more integration with job placement and things, because we're working with the companies in our area, both for them to feed us and us to feed them applicants. So there's a lot more job placement opportunity involved in that. And one of our investors is a security guard company. So all that kind of plays in. But those 2 are off and running. And then we've got the next 2 on the firearms thing, but we have we have CrossFit instructor, Krav Maga instructor, personal trainer, dive instructor. We may get into some flight program stuff, but probably not. Hunting and fishing guide, dog trainer. And then, we're working on a program that's kind of a firearms customization degree. So like stippling, lasering, Cerakoting, those current things that people do to guns. Yeah. To actually learn how to do that. So and people are hitting me with other ideas. So
that's cool, because almost all the gunsmith schools, like there's two of them out here in Colorado, they teach gunsmithing like they did 50 years ago.
Well, and look, hey, some of that's still important. But
Absolutely.
Like here, people ask you do gunsmithing, and we generally say, yeah, but we don't. We do like advanced armor work. Like, unless you have a lathe and a mill, you're not doing gunsmithing.
Yep.
You're doing armor stuff. So, that is not my area of expertise, and that's probably a little bigger animal than we want to bite right now. And those guys are doing it for like Sonoran Desert Institute and all those places. They're doing a great job in that field. So I'm one of those people that I'm not a Me Too person. I'm not just gonna mimic what if I don't see a way that I can make an impact or I could do something distinctly different, I don't mess with it.
Yeah. I just think there's a bit of a void as far as like high quality education in, most people that are doing stippling and stuff like that, it's self-taught. They're just like, grab a spare, Glock frame and just experiment. Oops, screwed that one up. All right, go buy a new frame. Of course, it's actually a lot easier these days with you can buy P320 grip modules all day long, and they're inexpensive and not actually having to replace guns. But anyway, that's cool. Man, I'm really excited about that. In fact, we actually have a question in here from Jared. He says, how would it apply to someone that already is qualified and certified instructor with a small business, but they're looking to expand their business, and how does it work outside of Louisiana?
So the certifications you'll get are, for lack of a better term, national. So I mean, you're talking NRA, USCCA, Tom Gibbet, like they're not secular to Louisiana. The other thing I'll say, and I don't know if you're speaking of yourself, Jarrett, like you're asking the question for yourself or hypothetical for someone else. And I'm not trying to be flippant about it, but the right answer is if someone is positioning themselves and asking that question from I'm already qualified and certified, they're not qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a mindset thing. So if someone's to the point that they say is something, now granted, do I probably need to go to another NRA basic pistol instructor course? No. And I get that. But what I want to caution people is that it's not just this certificate, that certificate. There's a lot of other material that binds it, right? So tremendous amount of legal. Now, is a lot of the legal geared towards Louisiana? Yes. But the way we teach the legal is, and I teach specifically, everyone, I gotta look at my security cameras every once in a while.
Sure.
Real quick, the law is a language, right? Just like, say, French. Every language is going to have dialects. So I'm here in South Louisiana. Okay. The people that speak, there's probably 8 dialects of that just within driving distance of me. So if Boudreaux and Thibodeau from down the bayou go to France and start talking French, there people in France are going to look at them like they're crazy. They literally don't understand what they're saying because it's different dialects. Then within a given dialect, people have accents. So if you transpose that to the law is a language. Different states have different dialects. And then when you look at states, when you start looking at how the law is actually applied in real life, that's kind of like an accent. So the way we teach that, we teach you how to understand the language so that if you go to a place like a state that has a different dialect, all you got to do is read the statute and you know what the words mean. Mm-hmm. That's a really gross oversimplification of what we do, but it's much broader than just, they're going to teach me Louisiana's laws. We're going to use Louisiana's laws to teach you the law, if that clarifies that point. As far as the other thing, I would just say, and I see you made a comment too about that's one of the problems is there's a lot of people who think I've been doing this for 40 years. And that's what I say to people all the time is I use that exact phrase. I say, there's a lot of people that say I've been doing this for 40 years. And there's a lot of people that have been doing things for a lot longer wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So that's part of it. And that's the hard part for me to articulate is not the bullet points of the course. It's the things that we do. It's not the meat and potatoes. It's the seasoning we put on the meat and potatoes that makes this program different. We got a lot higher quality meat and a lot nicer potatoes, but it's really the seasoning and how we make it taste because of the, perfect example, many of the other programs, you're taking the same instructors teaching you every day. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that breeds a familiarity that drives down performance. So what we're doing is we're flying in training counselors on things I could teach. I could save the money, teach it myself, but I don't always want them hearing from me or my guy or that guy. I want different instructors coming from across the country. So it's changing. They having to pay attention. The behavior changes, and they're seeing different teaching styles. So there's a lot of little nuances like that quite frankly, come from me seeing other programs and saying, I don't like that, and changing it. But it would absolutely apply to people from out of state. And to that point, while I'm thinking about it, we also are able to offer lodging. So while there's certainly a area that it's not going to make sense to drive to and from every week, for say you're in like Pensacola, say you're like in Dallas, you could come in the Monday night. The classes right now are scheduled on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. You could come in the Monday night, you have lodging through the Wednesday night, and then you can go home. So you don't have to worry about that. And if you are a veteran that's taking it, you're probably going to end up getting BA. So you get the BAH, basic allowance for housing. So you're able to keep that money and use that for other stuff. Most everything's going to be covered in the tuition. Depending on how the rest of our sponsorships work out after shot, your ammo may be covered. You're probably going to be walking away with at least a gun, holster. So there's a little more to it than just that. Yeah. But it absolutely applies to people outside of Louisiana.
Awesome. That's great. But obviously people, I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, I expected this. I don't know if that was made clear though to some viewing or watching or listening that, this is the kind of training you got to be there in person to participate in. It's not a distance learning program, right?
Nope.
Yeah. And you mentioned you got some other instructors that you've already started talking to and getting on board with all of this. In fact, in one of your videos I watched, you listed off some. I don't remember all the names now, but I was kind of like, oh, that's great. Like, so tell us who you got.
So like, for example, we talk about trauma and everything's, and I teach a trauma class. Like I have a class that we have on our schedule that I teach, but for that program, we're working with Kerry Davis from Dark Angel Medical, which is pretty much the top guy. Him and Caleb Causey with Lone Star Medics. So those two, depending on schedule, will be the guys that teach it. Like right now today, if I want to take a trauma medicine course, those are the dudes I would pay my money to go as a big time instructor type guy.
Yep.
So it's not and that's the part that people need to kind of that they may or may not be aware of. For the defensive oriented stuff, we're talking about either Masad Ayub or Tom Givens with Rangemaster. Some other people come in. Again, that'll kind of swap depending on because those guys obviously are traveling the country teaching as well. And then other than that, the other parts of the program that I've proprietarily created come from my training background and my training pedigree. In other words, where do the words that come out of my mouth come from? Well, they come from the amalgamation of all the people I've trained with.
Yep.
So like I'm friends and talk, with Masad Ayub, with Andrew Branca, the law of self-defense. Those are the two premier. If you want to be a legal expert as it refers to anything in the defensive field, those are kind of the two go-to guys in self-defense. Yep. So Andrew, I was one of the first graduates of Andrew's instructor program. I've taken Moss's shooting and legal classes. When I can get the schedule, I'm taking his his defensive tactics instructor, judicious use of force instructor course. And, I'm constantly taking stuff. And then I'm also using my knowledge and formal training of the law to build. So you're getting almost like those instructors for free through it. And then some of them will step in personally and teach it as part of the program, when some of that material comes up. So, and that's just in the PFAP program, the one that's open right now. Once we get into the doctoral degree, the defensive firearms instructor program, that one's 18 months. You come to class 2 days a week, but 2 weekends a month for the first 12 months. You're taking a tactical class from any name you've ever heard of: Kyle DeFore, Kyle Lamb, Larry Vickers, Tom Givens, Pat McNamara, Mike Pannone. I may get Travis or Chris coming out. So like all these big name people, you're doing 2 of those classes a month. So in the first 12 months, you'll take 25 classes from 25 different instructors. You may take 5 handgun classes, but it's going to be from 5 different instructors. And the intent with that is at this level, we are really sculpting like that. Basically what that program is when me and my peers would sit down and drink whiskey at a fire after class and say, man, if I won the lottery, I'd do this. It's that. No corners cut. I mean, not zero, but 0 to hero legitimately in that time. So that person goes through that program. So for those first 12 months, they'll probably fire 40 to 60,000 rounds in that first 12 months with what amounts to probably about 200,000. I mean, it's taken me, rough estimate, in 20 years of doing this, I estimate I've spent about $250,000, and I've gotten a lot of classes for free in training, ammo, like just devoted to me getting better. So you're getting a lot of that it's taken me 20 years. So you're getting that in that compressed time frame. But the intent is that at that point, we're building musicians. And what I mean by that is a good musician is influenced by people. They don't copy them. They don't sound like Louis Armstrong, but you can hear hints of it. They're influenced. So that's why we want to give that broad spectrum of experience to people, because there may be a guy who resonates with the way Pat McNamara is, and that's what identifies with him. Someone else might be more reserved, like a Larry Vickers. So it's just different things. And then the last 6 months of that program, they drop down to one of those classes a month. Now they're building their curriculum. They have to build 2 separate curriculums, a 1-day and a 2-day on 2 completely different topics that has to be submitted because we have a board. The advisory board has to sign off on it. They have to present it to their peers. Then they have to, from start to finish, build the target frames, everything. Teach, market, fill that course. And then there's a shooting qual, entry and exit, or a review board for both. They have to do a doctoral thesis. It is 100% formatted like a doctoral program. And that those classes are on everything: handgun, shotgun, carbine, low light, precision, force on force, driving, vehicle CQB, combatives, anything that you can. So they get that. It's not making them experts in all those things, but it's rounding out that contextual knowledge, so that when they build their program, they're not just mimicking and changing a few things from someone else. They're using all these influences that they've had to build something that is truly uniquely theirs, but has been influenced by quality vetted individuals.
Yeah. Wow. I'm jealous. I'd like to participate, but if I want to stay married and be a father to my kids, I guess I'd have to move to Louisiana. So, dang, man, that's really cool. Really, really, really exciting. There's a question. I think you kind of addressed this, but maybe if you could just kind of hit on this head on, and that is for Mark. He says, "Can hobbyists take the courses too?" I think your point is somebody that's just kind of, they've been shooting, maybe doing a little bit of instructing, but they're just sort of looking to.
They're not planning to do it as a job.
Right.
No, 100%. And I think I did a video on that and I was guilty of it too. Is there's this tendency in our industry for people to very self-identify with how they train. So, for example, people will call them cert chasers, right? Guys who have no, quote, reason to take a course. And it just dawned on me, like, first off, who are you to tell me why I need to train? Now, there's certainly people who go out and get a bunch of certificates, create this big resume where they have no actual qualification in a topic. They just look what I've done. And I'm not talking about that. But that's what I did in the beginning. I just liked shooting. It wasn't about I was trying to craft an occupation. I just enjoy doing it. I don't like to golf. I don't, that's my golf, is I like to go to a class. So I was being very sincere. I would take leave and go to a class because that was my getaway. So yeah, absolutely, someone can take it. There's no requirement to do that. And I would say, if your primary occupation is or is going to be something other than firearms training, the way kind of the same thing, the analogy I was giving with the legal aspects, the core business school obviously is geared towards firearms instructors, but the information is completely transferable. Like this, you do an LLC for an ice cream shop the same way you do an LLC for a firearms training business. So all that plays into it, absolutely. And just to also say to that, again, it's open to anyone, not just veterans. And in fact, part of the requirement to be eligible to accept GI Bill and educational benefits is 15% of the makeup of a program has to be non they can be veterans, but they have to be non-VA funded and not school funded, meaning I can't just comp their seat. The intent, while I think misguided, the intent is that so someone doesn't throw up some BS thing to milk money out of it, which I get, and that has happened in the past. Yeah. But I'm of the opposite mindset. I as a veteran, I think, no, we need people building programs specifically for veterans, targeting veterans because they have different needs and wants. So that's why I've structured our program like that. Is it's absolutely open and applicable to non-veterans, but it's optimized for veterans. And when I say for veterans, it's really more, it's optimized for adult learners, okay? But it's set up as a business to be able for veterans to use their GI Bill. Mm-hmm. And because that's just the reality is it's got to get paid for. So it's set up to use that because, like, take me, for example, ironically, I got another letter today. So I have a master's, but when I got done, I still had, I think, like 9 months of benefits left. Well, mine, I didn't hit that window. Mine technically expired, or so I thought. I'm still not 100% sure. Had stuff like this existed, believe me, I would have done it. And I even considered at one point about going to an EMT school. I don't want to be an EMT. Ironically, that is the very first thing I went to college for. When I started college, it was to be an EMT, and now it's just like, eh. But now where life is taking me, I would love to have that knowledge. I will never be an EMT. I will never ride an ambulance, but I would like to have that knowledge, or, you know, a dive instructor, or any of the things that exist. I would have wanted to do that. Ironically, they sent me a letter that all of a sudden, after 10 years of being out of school, they overpaid me, but can't tell me anything about it. It's the VA. But yeah, so it is applicable and open to people. And the other side of that is not only are we kind of required to have that, it is instrumental to the program, because the other part of this, besides the truly educational side, as in certificates and stuff, is the transitional side. My business, I've seen kind of how it works. I've had, I don't know, 30, 40 veterans come through here as employees. Some people need a transitional space as they figure out how to go from that military life to a life where people don't do things because you told them to, or because people don't do things because it's a smart thing to do. People will do things that make no sense. And a lot of veterans, especially younger ones, have a hard time processing that. Also, if they're going to start a business in anything, they don't necessarily know how to manage. Hopefully in the military, they learn how to lead at least a little bit, but leading and managing are two different things. And in the business world, not everyone's open to leadership. Sometimes you got to manage them. So those types of little nuances. So bringing in non-veteran people forces an acclimation and a merging where they're starting to learn, like, I can't speak to everybody in acronyms. Every other word can't be a curse word. Like, they learn to interact with people that are not military.
Yeah. What does the program actually cost, or programs?
Yeah. So the Professional Firearms Education Program, like the street price, like if you were going to cut a check, is $10,800 for the full 6-month program. Now, as each of these things happen, right? So as they're going through their pistol instructor block and their shotgun instructor block, all of this stuff is available a la carte to outside people. So if you're like, yeah, I just always wanted to be an NRA shotgun instructor. Well, when that comes up in the schedule, you can sign up and take it. Not only is that, a business thing, but also, again, it's injecting new faces and people that people in the program have to interact with. It is eligible for GI Bill, vocational rehab, probably by about, I'm hoping, end of the summer. We should be able to accept all student financial aid. So if this is something you really want to do and you don't have GI Bill available to you, you can get a student loan for it just as you would for any other formal degree.
Wow.
We're also working with several different organizations in our area to create different types of scholarships for it. I am finalizing what I'm probably not the right word, but what I'm calling a work study program, where basically you work off your tuition. So, and a lot of people will see additional benefit in that. So for example, we're doing most of the classes here at the gun store. So, you come to class 2 days a week, and for every 2 days of class, you work 1 day. So you work off your tuition. So not only do you get to not have to pay that, but then you also get the benefit of the experience of working in a gun store at the same time. And then I am working with trying to get set up in place like a kind of a third-party financing. So And the thing is if somebody, I'm gonna be completely honest. I mean, I know your viewers don't know me, but I'm a pretty straight up, what you see is what you get kind of guy. I want people in this program. So, if someone came to me and presented me anything that kind of rationally made sense, I'd probably be down for it. I will work with people to figure out what we got to do to make them successful in it. And that may help me. That may open an idea that I never thought about. But we're working with every conceivable payment option we can. But like I said, the PFEP's 10.8 and the Security Guard Academy is 5,400. So you're basically looking at 5,400 for every 3 months. So that's just kind of how the math plays out. And that includes everything you need to do the program. The only thing, and I'm still playing with it, I obviously have some connects in the industry. I'm going to SHOT in a couple of weeks. We're working with companies like Rock and Smith & Wesson directly, hoping to get them to be big-time sponsors. We have a 511 Karl Malone store here, so I'm working with them to come on as sponsors. So what I'm hoping is when the student enrolls, they're also getting, because if you are a veteran and get GI Bill, you're probably also going to get a $500 a semester. So for the PFEP, it'd be $1,000 total stipend for books and supplies. So that would come to us to cover the bulk of your ammo needs. And then anything else will probably get taken care of, to be quite honest. But that amount should cover everything you need to go through the program, and you'll probably leave with several $1,000s worth of very top end gear. Because I'm looking at a stack of folders that I've prepared to approach people at SHOT Show, and this isn't anybody that'll give us money can be a sponsor type thing. Each of these companies is hand selected by me based on, I do paid consulting work for product companies. I've got medical products that I've designed that are, have my logo on them. So I know what's crap and what's not. So, and I'm very protective of that, because I realize a lot of these people coming through this program, what we give them and what we expose them to is going to kind of set the tone for it. And especially for the ones coming from the military, there's generally two things. Either one, they think whatever the military has is the best in the world, which is absolutely wrong, or they hate everything the military has, and that's absolutely wrong too. So it's to readjust their expectations and their ability to objectively say, well, that's a great holster, that's garbage. So part of that is we want to provide them all, the gear they have is going to be, top end stuff.
Quality. Yeah. It's good, man. That's great. I want to ask you something here, get your thoughts on. There's a phrase that, is thrown around quite often in the industry, of course, and that is the importance of staying in one's lane. What are your thoughts on that? And where do you see that? Like, what would be some things that you would offer to those watching, viewing, listening, especially if they're maybe even thinking about wanting to be a part of this program? Because here's one thing I kind of see is I think it's a fantastic program, and they're going to get certified and trained in a bunch of different disciplines. But again, kind of back to where you sort of started, there's a difference between being certified and being qualified.
Yep. So that is a phrase that gets used a lot. You're correct. And actually, I'm looking through my notes because I'm one of only, I think, 21 people. If you're familiar with Dave Spalding, he did an instructor class in the last year, and it was kind of a by invitation only type thing.
Yep.
And part of that course is we had to do like a non-firearms, specific presentation. And what I did was another little side project I got is every once in a blue moon, I'll say something that's really smart. And I'll copy, kind of like a little quote, right? And then much more so other people say stuff. So what I started doing is keeping these. And my goal is to get to 365 of them. And I'm going to release kind of a quote of the day thing. But it's all centered around either education, integrity. I forget what the other one is. But anyway, I used those to build a presentation. And that was one of the ones that was in there. And I kind of wrote it up. But basically, yes, staying in your lane means understanding what you know, but also more so understanding what you don't know. And there's some people, and there's really no way for me to say this without sounding arrogant, but it's the truth. There's some of us that have a 6-lane highway. So we can drift a little bit. I could talk about low light stuff, rifle stuff, handgun stuff, but I also know my limitations. Can I shoot a precision rifle all day? Am I in a position where I, being honest, feel I could teach people precision rifle? No. So if I start talking too much about precision rifle, that's when I start feeling my tire kind of rubbing the curb a little bit, right? Some people are trying to drive a semi down a goat trail. Okay. You need to chill out. And that's a huge undertone of all of these programs, is getting people to understand and have the intellectual and emotional integrity and intelligence to recognize who they are and who they are not. Now, the goal is to constantly, there's two goals. There's the goal of widening your lane, which is learning about more things. And there's also the goal of paving your lane, which is the depth of knowledge you know about things. So if you look at like a police officer, they have a pretty wide lane. They know a little bit about a lot of things. They're a generalist. If you look at a brain surgeon, he has a narrow lane, but it's a concreted, it is that he knows that. Of course, he could say, yep, that looks like a broken leg to me. But he's not an ear, nose, and throat person. He's not a podiatrist. Like, you got to understand those differences. So in almost everything we do professionally, we should be a specialist, but have a wide enough lane that we can generalize in those things that relate. So to that point, there's nothing wrong with trying to broaden your lane. It really, honestly, it's not so much about what you know about the thing you're talking about that either invokes or doesn't that concept. It's how well do you know yourself, and how honest are you about that? Let's be like, nobody likes to be wrong. A video I got queued up to release is why I hate being right. And my thing I've always said is I'm a very outspoken, I'm a very confident guy. Some people would confuse that with arrogance. It's passion, but I just don't pull any punches. I'm honest about who I am. And if you come at me about something that I am, I'm going to defend it. But if you say, Brannon, you don't know crap about reloading, I'm going to say, you're right, I don't. I know nothing about reloading at all. So I don't talk to people about reloading, which is, what I tell people is there's a couple of things. People say, oh, you always think you're right. Yeah, I do. If I didn't think I was right, why would I be speaking? If I'm giving an opinion, I obviously think that opinion's correct. And then the other one is, well, you just always want to be right. No, I don't. I want to be wrong. And what I mean by that is I believe we learn more from our mistakes in life than we do our successes. So while it may be something I am extremely knowledgeable in, when someone convinces me that I'm wrong and shows me, and I'm like, to the point that I realize, yes, I'm wrong about this point, I am sincerely, eternally grateful for that, because now I can fix it. And what I say is the only thing I like more than being right is being wrong, because once I realize I'm wrong, I can fix it. And now that's one more thing I could be right about. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but logically, that's exactly what it is. When someone says, no, Brannon, that law actually says X, Y, Z, I'm like, I'm thankful. I'm not mad. I'm not embarrassed. I immediately own it. I don't assign any emotional value to it. I fix it, and then I move on. But to that individual, the fact, because I know how I can be when I'm arguing a point, the mere fact that they took the time and energy and effort to articulate to me where I got it, I am thankful for that effort. So the biggest thing is and also recognizing when you're out of your league. There are certain things that just most people can't touch me on in a knowledge perspective. And I'm proud of that because I know the effort I put into knowing that. So when, some 22-year-old dude who just got his permit and is now teaching classes to the people in his village tries to argue with me about the law, I'm like, bruh, really? But I try to move past that frustration because I was him. I knew everything, right? It's a maturity thing. When you get to a certain point, you stop assigning your value ego-wise to what people think you know. Like if everyone watching this thinks I have no idea what I'm talking about, that doesn't bother me because I know. And like to the people that matter know, and the people that don't know, unfortunately, don't matter because I'm going to focus on the people that matter in my life. But yeah, I mean, it's something we throw out as almost like an insult. And that's where I'm hoping our program differentiates itself, because that type of concept, like everything I just articulated, that's the stuff in between the certifications that I'm talking about, that hopefully when that person comes out, their value as an educator is more than just the stack of papers they've got in their binder. That's what I'm trying to create.
Good answer. Good response. And by the way, I love the description of trying to drive a semi truck down a goat trail. That works really well. Awesome. It's probably about time we start wrapping it up. I did want to ask you one, maybe two last kind of follow-up questions, and actually somewhat unrelated to everything else up to this point. One would be, what do you see as being the number one mistake that concealed carriers make?
You mean from like a practices standpoint or
anything?
Mindset?
Like just looking at the concealed carry community, if you will. Like it could be gear, it could be training, it could be practice. Broad. I know, really broad question. Just
unrealistic
one thing.
Expectations of their capabilities are like a Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to a concealed carry class and walk away thinking like, I got this, especially if they combine it with their 40 years of hunting, right? That from a practical, a mindset standpoint, and then also the kind of BS talking or braggadocious stuff online where, oh, if this would have happened, I'd have done this. And what it does is it highlights what they don't know, because they say stuff that's like, number one, no, Karen, you would not have done that. And two, Karen, if you had done that, you'd be dead or in jail. So that comes from either this ego place of wanting to seem like I know something. It's like the guy in class that's asked the instructor a question with, well, isn't it true that? That's not asking a question. You're trying to show everybody what you know. That's not asking a question. So it's that. And then from a, if from a practical standpoint, if I could stop one thing, and I also do videos for the Firearms Blog TV, TFB TV is one of the larger firearm blogs. And one of the videos I did recently was and it was intentionally kind of poking a bear, but it was like the top 5 worst pieces of gun advice for women. And really it could have been for new shooters, but I knew women would rile people up. If I could get people who have the greatest of intentions at heart, but are getting out of their lane and trying to recommend guns to people to stop doing that, that'd be great. Like if I can never have another woman walk into my store with a J-frame revolver, I will have considered my life a success. Just as a point of fact, that is literally a J-frame revolver for any new shooter is literally the worst possible piece of advice. There is no other firearm that inherently its characteristics work against a new shooter more. You are setting that person up for failure. I'm not saying you can't use it effectively. I'm not saying it's a bad gun. I'm saying if you have a new shooter and typically they can't operate a slide, it's simpler. It never malfunctions. Those are all absolutely false. You just haven't shot a revolver enough to know that. So if I can just get that to stop, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah. Good advice. And I totally get what you're saying there. You just haven't shot a revolver enough to know just how hard it is to shoot.
Most people own guns. They
revolver.
don't shoot.
Yep.
And then concealed carry, most people carry guns. They don't shoot it. Most people buy a concealed carry gun not really thinking about using it to defend their life. They think about, I got to carry this.
Yep.
Okay.
I was just having a conversation with a guy this morning on social media. He was making all kinds of modifications to his carry gun, and I'm like, so tell me, like what have you gone through to test its reliability to know like this is still okay for you?
What have you gone through to necessitate that change?
True.
If it's not purely aesthetic, like why would I put a tailgate lift on my truck? I mean, it's cool, but like, I don't need it.
It's handy.
Yeah.
When you do need it. But yeah. And I could tell that by his response, he was like, wait a minute. Like, I don't think it had crossed his mind that, wait, I just, lightened my slide. I just did this thing and that thing. And like, like I could tell, like he had, like, he's just thinking this is cool. I'm making this cool thing. Like, and personalized.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just painting a gun, whatever color scheme. I've got plenty of guns that are not practical.
Right.
Being able to differentiate that is the thing.
Yep. Anyway, so excellent advice, Brannon, and thank you so much for being with us here on the Concealed Carry Podcast. We should have you back again at some point if you want to, and either get an update on things as you're progressing with the programs, but also maybe just to talk about other stuff, because I'm sure there's lots that you can share with us.
Hey, if I could just add one thing real quick
Yeah.
that I passed over. With these programs, one of the things we do too, and it's kind of an honor system thing, believe it or not, is if anybody recommends someone, like you refer, like anybody that saw this podcast, right, says, oh, my buddy wants to do this, and they actually enroll, we do a $300 like referral fee. And again, I'm sure I'm going to get taken advantage of at some point, but it's shoot me an email. Hey man, my buddy Bob's going to be calling you. And what we do is when we bring someone on board, we obviously do like an interview, we're getting all that paperwork, and we ask. So if it generally routes back to an individual, then I'm again, you can ask around. I'm a pretty honest dude. I'll do it. And then we also have, flyers, and I've got business cards and posters. So if anyone has a store or that they want to put flyers up, just to get the word out, or, to try to get $300 a person, there's nothing wrong with that. Shoot me an email, and I'll ship them out to you. And then with that, and then if anyone watching happens to have like a retail business, I'll send you a bunch of business cards. And I mean, if you could just throw a business card in each order you ship out, man, that really does help us out. It really does. And then other than that, just, all our different social media pages we got, and just get the word out. That's really what it is right now. It's just letting people know that stuff like this exists.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, folks, make sure you tell Brannon that you heard it on the Concealed Carry Podcast, and he needs to send Riley a check.
That's it.
Don't forget. Awesome. Well, again, it's been a pleasure, and we should connect at SHOT Show or something. I'm sure you're going to be busy, and I'll be busy as
you
well.
Be out there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, been there every year for 5 or 6 years now.
I'll be running around.
Cool.
Yep, hit me up. I'll see you myself, and are you going to any parties after?
I don't know if I'm much into the party scene.
That's where I do most of my business.
A few things here and there.
I'll be coming for TFB during the day, and we'll be out there. But yeah, we'll definitely connect.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, guys, again, just a reminder, today's episode honorarily brought to you by NOLATAC. We'll say NOLATAC.com. That's where they can find stuff about your training. You got St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center. You got
anything with this, they can just it's NOLATAC Veterans Training Program. We've got Facebook pages for all of them. Yeah. Facebook's going to be honestly the easiest way. I'm literally still working on the website for that program right now.
Nice.
So we have a Facebook page for each program, and then a general NOLATAC Veterans Training Program Facebook page. So any messaging through that, or any of the emails connected to that, all of that stuff comes through me, so I'll see it.
Excellent. And then also Guardian Nation, today's episode sponsor. So guardiannation.com. You guys know where to find it. And so with that, we're going to let you go. And so until next time, and next week, by the way, and I think you know this dude, Brannon, but next week on Tuesday, we're doing an episode with Matt Landfair.
Yeah.
So folks, look forward to that. And we'll enjoy chatting with Matt. And until then, train right, train often, and train safe so you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care. And that concludes the recorded portion of the show. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks to everybody for being here. We finally got a few more people in here, so here you are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of it. And good questions and good comments all around. Good. So we're going to sign on out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Until next time, adieu, adieu, adieu. See you later.